What's up, everybody? Good to be back for another stream. Really excited, and we have a decent amount to talk about. A fair amount, to say the least. Just a real quick rundown of what we're going to be kind of, talking about today. We have, of course, we're going to spend a lot of time on the BNR and kind of my thoughts and opinions on the BNR announcement, and then also the meta changes accordingly. We're also going to cover how, either by accident or intention, there is currently manipulation of the Tashar data on Fabre right now, uh, which is very interesting. And then we're also going to talk about um, just whatever else comes up in chat, pretty much, or anything that I can kind of think of accordingly. And yeah, so let's go ahead and dig in to let's start with the BNR announcement. I mean, that's the biggest one. Thank you all for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Um Aurora stocks going way up. She has gotten better, to say the least. Why is Prism the best deck? I mean, Viscera is rough. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that in any way. It's pretty rough matchup, I would say, because there's like very low opportunity cost poppers in the deck with Amp and Ninth Blade and stuff like that, and they're very aggressive split damage, just kind of everything you'd want into Prism. So I wouldn't say that that matchup is bad. However, with Herald, you can outrace Aurora. Like everything else, you're actually pretty decent to a lot of the field. So Prism got better. I don't know if she's like best deck. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch, but I like where your head's at. Aurora definitely gone up. Dio is kind of the contention point as far as like being outraced, and high octane obviously was a huge piece of that. And that is Dio's still fine. She's not dead, but you know, she doesn't just get free games, which does impact her win rate, which does in fact um it kind of degrades a little bit of the point to player. I'm not saying she's bad. I'm just saying she's not as solid as of a pick before high octane. Uh New is better, I think. We're gonna dig into why. We're gonna talk about all that. But I think New got substantially better after the ban announcement, in my opinion. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into um the announcement. Let's go ahead and start discussing that. Let me go ahead and get everything lined up. Bring that over here, switch that to there. Okay. So here, and if anybody wants to chime in with anything, feel feel free to ask. This is not going to be super structured. We're just going to kind of go off on some tangents, probably, and kind of just discuss things with you. There's one part that chat I'm going to need your help with, if I'm being 100% honest. Um, Spoiler alert: it's the CYB part. And we'll get into it. We'll get into it. How are you feeling about Jarl? I think Jarl's good. Uh, he's definitely going to have an impact in the meta. Is he going to be like a top deck? That I'm not sold on yet. I think he'll be very good, but he still has a couple things to prove. So obviously, High Octane got banned. I think, believe it or not, this was the most anticipated card because we had the heads up from James White himself. Those of you that are not aware, basically in the, what is it called, the dev talk or whatever it was between Brian and James, right after the book burning, is or that ban list, they had a little talk, and James said that at the top of his list of cards to ban was High Octane. And so from that point on, anytime the creator of the game says that that's on the top of their list, anytime a BNR announcement comes out, people are going to say that card's going to get banned. And surprise, it happened, right? I think there was a couple things at Worlds that they may have seen that like kind of solidified it. Um, I'm hmm, I'm trying to say this in a way. I do not like the timing of this high octane ban. Let me let me paint the picture on why I think personally this is a very bad look. I'm not saying that this decision was made, right? I'm just saying it looks bad. Okay. You have the armory deck come out. And basically the exact same time of the release of the armory deck, plus minus a week, whatever the case may be, you have the creator saying this card should be banned because it draws card after they just banned every card in game almost that draws cards. Almost. And then they wait till 4 to 5 weeks after the Dio deck is out and then they ban it. And it just so happens that that is one of I'll say it. It's the most impactful card in a Dio deck. It's it's a bad look. What what it looks like is basically they wanted to ban the card and they did not want to impact the Dio deck. It is what it looks like. I'm not saying that's what it happened. I'm not trying to imply that that is what happened. I'm just saying from a consumer point of view, it looks bad. Like, hey, this is the highest card that we probably are looking to ban. It invalidates everything you just listed in this announcement. It's the key card to this product we're about to release. Product comes out 4 weeks later, ban. It's sus as shit, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that that was the driving decision or whatever. I'm just saying my advice to LSS would be aware of the imagery that you're creating in timing. Is the best advice. Sometimes you can't help it, and you just have to do what you have to do. But it looks sus. Is all I'm gonna say. So that's my piece on high octane, which is the very easy piece of this ban and suspended announcement or restricted announcement, whatever we're calling. What are we calling it today? Restricted. Okay. Is it ban and I almost said it again. Ban and restricted announcement. Let me get caught up. Let's see. What's up, Andrew? Good to see you. It's too soon. High Octane's floor was way too high. Its ceiling was unhealthy. Oh, 100%. Like the cards should be banned. Nobody is saying that the card shouldn't be banned. Like it should have been gone. Like, and they knew that. Well, they were on the cusp of knowing that. They just needed to see one split format event be played out before they could make their final decision. And it looks a little sus. Having new players buy a Octane and then banning it feels so bad. It like the Dio deck is undeniably the best armory deck type product that they have created by a mile. Like it's way, way, way better. Uh, and yeah, I don't think anything else needs to be needs to be said. It's action point raising, not the draw. Technically, you're right, but it's both. It replaces itself and creates an assload of action points. But yes, you are correct. Yeah, Max has just got destroyed. What's up, Jacob? Good to see you. It just looks like they wanted to sell Dio decks while wait. That's what I'm saying. That's I'm trying to be, you know. But yes, that's what I'm implying. That is what it looks like. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm not saying that if anybody was not going to do something like that, I would assume that that person would be LSS. I would rather them banning Cerebellum. That's never going to happen because then you invalidate the product. So you just can't do that. From like, I'm okay with business decisions being made because like you don't want to right. Let's play that out. Right. That's actually a good point that we need to discuss. Let's say that the more appropriate ban theoretically was Cerebellum. Okay, you ban that card, and now every Dio deck is going to sit on the shelf of all the LGSs, right? And then when the next Armory deck comes out, and the LGS has to place their order, what do you think is going to happen? Are they going to get more of it? Are they going to get less of it? What do you think is going to happen there? And I can tell you it's probably going to get less of it, which is not good for the game. And while you could make the same argument for High Octane, I don't think it's a very similar comparison, right? Like, would they have sold less if they banned High Octane on the release or during the normal when the book burning happened? Undoubtedly, yes, because it would not have been as powerful of a hero. Would it have still been the best performing Armory deck? I would say so. I would say so. But I do draw the line at like you can't release a very small product and then ban a card in it. It's not a good thing to do. Is it me or is this not enough for CYB? All 6 CYBs are still on rate 5 go again. Technically, it's 5.5 if you average out the value. It's 5.5 value per card. But that's 2 cards invested. So it's 2 card 5.5s with go again is your technical rate. I do think Armory decks have a bit of a funky thing where if the cards are problem, you can't. Yeah, correct. And that's kind of what I was implying. Yep. Fast and Furious is still in the deck. I mean, that's true, but is that enough reason to drop whatever it costs on the Armory deck? That's a decision to be made, right? It's just bad business to touch something in the deck. Me personally. I actually like that they left it legal. It's maybe not healthy, but I love that they always let any class or hero have a moment of being very powerful or even broken. Okay, so that I'm glad you said that because it on the surface level, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I have the complete opposite train of thought. And I'm not saying that I'm right and you're wrong. I'm just saying that we're on 2 different pages here, but I think we should talk about it because maybe you're right. I mean, I haven't considered it in that manner before. I'm going to explain the way I look at that situation. Okay. If they know a card needs to be banned, okay, why does a card need to be banned? Right? Either it's not a fun mechanic, right? Or it's creating a lesser play experience, or it's unbalanced, right? That's like the 2 main reasons why you would ban something or restrict something. So, by going your route, the way that I think about it is if they make that action like they did, they basically invalidate an event. Or maybe not invalidate's the right term, but you have like high octane, right? It leads to bad play experiences where you literally have the opponent feeling helpless, right? I forget how they put it exactly in the B&R announcement. Maybe I can find it. Duh, 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 duh. Duh, 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 duh. There's nothing like technically on there in that, but basically, all the people that sign up for the event that was is within that period, that testing period or whatever you want to call it. Basically, what happens is they end up being exposed to those unbalanced and lesser play experiences to have some people experience something one time. I understand that, giving people like Kraken Aether Vein is a perfect example, right? Something absurdly broken. Somebody 2 weeks during my stream said what they should play in Blitz. I said if that card's not in their deck, they shouldn't be playing LL. And boom, it's gone. And I look at that situation and it's like, how many people went to that tournament, watched their opponent draw 30 cards and dump all their resources into a fire breathing for 120? Like, how many people had that non-interactive, non-fun, bad experience? I don't know, 20, 30, 40 people? That leaves, in my opinion, more of a negative footprint in the game than saying, "Hey guys, we know this is busted, but like take it for a spin this weekend and then like we'll take care of it afterwards," right? Um I understand your point and like I somewhat kind of agree with it, but at the same time, it seems like there's a lot more negative attached to that, letting people just take it for a spin, me personally, especially not when tournament money is not only that, but the biggest tournament of the year at that, right? I think High Octane had a chance to live, at least in my testing for RTN and talking with people, fatigue looked like a real concern. I think Sam kind of cracked the deck and got it banned. I personally yeah, I mean, I mean, yeah, I just think that you have to be careful with those decisions. Me personally, that's that's how I look at it. So, we ended up spending like 10 minutes on High Octane when I thought it was going to be 10 seconds, but I'm glad because that was like a conflicting opinion to what I hold, and those are the things that we should discuss. I never turn on this camera and expect everyone to just believe what I say or to not learn something. So I appreciate those comments a lot. I really do appreciate them. I don't know why I did that to turn my camera, but I really do appreciate it. Okay, so I don't know why I did that. Like moved everything. Sorry, I'm getting fixed up here. I'm gonna get it right. I promise. Okay. I don't know. I do agree with the broad point. If we know it's got to go, it should go. That's where I'm at. I don't know. They could have banned system reset and killed the deck. I mean, you don't have to murder, but like if you think something's not balanced, don't let people just take it for a spin for shits and giggles. I think that's a bad practice. Stubby Hammer's Fi is the same thing. I think they just didn't catch that. That's my humble opinion. I don't think that was a let it ride. I think it slipped under the radar. Uh, that's my opinion. Following that point, maybe we need a middle ground. Stubby's 5 was OP, but it wasn't Worlds. Same with Kraken. Maybe Worlds needs different treatment, but for Battle Hardened, it's okay. I could get on board with that. Uh, yeah, I could agree with that. Yeah, I could be down with that. Just you have to be very aware of the events in which you're taking that risk. I agree. Okay. Let's move on to the hot topic. Okay, here we go. So for anybody that saw the last stream, there was a little moment in that stream where I basically was like trying to be kind of nice about CYB, and I said, you know what, fuck it, fuck CYB, we don't like the card and whatnot. And so I went in to this article with a negative connotation about the card, if I'm being 100% honest. I walked in with a bias, if we're being 100% honest. But I thought about it. I reflected. I did some just real... I dug deep in the think tank and was trying to... Because what I read in this article was not what I expected. And I'm not saying that in a bad way now, but if I would have said it right after, if I did a reaction video, man, it would be different than what I'm about to say. And that's why I don't do those. Very glad. Very glad. So, let me walk through my emotional roller coaster of reading this article. Throughout the entire game, or my history of playing Flesh and Blood, the one aspect of the game that I've always kind of stood by, like it was my, it was the flag that I carried around with me when I was trying to talk new players into playing the game, and kind of also why I started making content for this game. Because this is my first card game. This is my first content creation journey. All of it on the back of this game. And the main thing that I held on to was that LSS did not have shareholders. They didn't have anything that... anybody that they truly had to, like, they could do what they wanted. They could take risk in certain spots and not worry about, not performing well in a quarter if they know it's overall good for the game. So I knew that in the end, no matter what happens in the game of Flesh and Blood, it will be successful. And it was because I just believed in James. And that's kind of where the whole term, in James we trust, right? We've all probably said that, and probably definitely read it on Twitter somewhere. And something that I've said a lot, in James we trust. And when I read this article, I think it was the first time I ever doubted saying that. But after thinking on it, he's right. He's right. In James, we should trust. And I'm going to explain why currently I think James in this article is 100% right. The problem with this article is not this is what a control deck looks like in Flesh and Blood, and if you disagree with it, you're upset. That's not the problem with this article. That's perfectly fine. He's right. The problem with this article the problem with this article is it doesn't mention what the problem with CYB actually is. It doesn't even touch on it. And the problem with where they fucked up on CYB is one word. I would say that there's absolutely nothing wrong with 9 of in this card if one word was different. And that word is generic. That's the only word that is wrong on this card. In my opinion, of course. And it's because my disdain for Count Your Blessings is not that it has nothing to do with fatigue. It has nothing to do with, you know, control decks or aggro being bad like the last year, whatever the case. It has nothing to do with any of that. My disdain from this card is derived from the situation that is created when you sit down across from an opponent. And if that is any of the decks that have, you know, 3 blocks, let's look at the here, right? Arachne, you don't know if he's trying to mill you or fatigue you via life gain, right? These heroes can't really do it. She can do it. He can do it. They can do it. Hell, technically Dio could do it, right? It has enough armor. If you include generics, you can put a bunch of 3 blocks in it. Starting at 36 life is kind of a meme, but you get what I'm saying. 75% of these heroes could run a defensive armor suite plus CYB and try to fatigue you out of nowhere. Even if it's a deck you would never expect. Like Katsu, fucking Rhinar could do it. Hell, any warrior, because they have a bunch of 3 blocks. And it, to me, what the card actively did is it created this fucking guessing game where I could study the meta. I could know it in and out, right? All the things that I'm supposed to be rewarded for in a TCG, right? I could practice all my matchups. But first of all, there's already 100 fucking heroes in Classic Constructed, right? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times 3 is 33. 36 matchups. Assuming this isn't 6 fucking heroes. Right? So we have 36 matchups. And what you're asking me as a player to come to an event fully prepared is to say, okay, let's go to each one of these fucking heroes, 75% of them, right? That have 3 blocks that can fatigue somebody. And now I have to devise a game plan into what would basically be, you add 75% of 36, right? So what's a 36? It would be be roughly less than 10, so it'd be 9. You'd be adding another 27 matchups. So if you counted the regular Bolton matchup and then a CYB Bolton matchup, that's 2 matchups in the same fucking hero. Same thing for Riptide. Same thing for any of these heroes, or 75% of the heroes. So now you have effectively, as far as like a game plan strategy, I have to come to the table with 27 plus 36 different matchups, which totals to 63. And that's not even including, you know, like, that's not even including like Hatchet Dory versus Dawnblade Dory. You know, like there's so many, like even within the heroes, not counting CYB, there's multiple archetypes, so it gets even deeper. If you were to actually factor everything in, you're looking at what could potentially be 100 theoretical matchups in the game of Flesh and Blood with CYB existing in it. Because before CYB existed, could Zen fatigue somebody? Maybe. Like, he could put a bunch of D-Racks and some Sigils and Oasis in his deck. Sure, he could do that, right? Theoretically. But without CYB, you could load your normal 60 and have like a chance to win. Whereas if you load in CYB against Zen or with Zen into an unsuspecting opponent, they're just going to lose the game. It's as simple as that. And so what you've created is you're asking a player to get ready for an event, 100 matchups. 100. Okay? So let's assume that you only have time to put in 5 games per matchup, which I'm going to let you know right now, it's not enough to go to Worlds, a Pro Tour, barely a calling if we're being 100% honest. 5 of each matchup. That's like you're playing. All you get with 5 games in a certain matchup is an understanding of the flow of the game and maybe a little bit of nuance. So you're asking somebody to be ready for a calling level event, play 500 games. If not, actually way more if they want to do really well. And I hate to break it to you, that's just too fucking much. I don't know how else to sugarcoat it. Now, let's trace it back. If CYB was a fucking Guardian card, I would not give 2 shits because it would only change this matchup, and this matchup. Who gives a fuck? 3 more quote unquote matchups, nobody cares. Hell, Bravo has a control version, so that shit didn't really even add one. But you cannot give in this article, it is brilliant design in the exact way that he mentioned that gaining life is a good version of control because it allows the opponent to get on hit effects because the deck can't block. That is a great conceptual design principle. Amazing, because it takes the worst aspects of Oldham and fixes all of them. Every one of them. The problem is you inserted a tool that let almost any hero become a control deck. Explain to me the flavor aspect of a control fi. What's the hero identity there? What about Katsu? Giga Fatigue CYB Katsu? Like, it's, you just cannot insert cards that allow that behavior in the generic slot. You just can't do it. So that, chat, is my point. That's what is not mentioned in this article, and I beg you to read it for yourself. I'm not going to read it for you. I'm not going to, some people have read it. I'm not going to waste people's time. But James is right. 100%. Somewhere he says, count your blessings. Enigma is what a control deck looks like in Flesh and Blood. And basically says that you give up opportunity cost because of basically, you know, you have to take on hit effects to play it out. And he's 100% right. 110% correct. In James, we trust. The problem is you can't have it in a generic slot. like I chat, I sat down for 30 minutes. For 30 minutes. I know I'm ignoring chat right now. I'm gonna get caught up. I'm just trying to get all of this out before we go through it. I sat down for 30 minutes and I said, "What design advantage do you get?" And the answer is not limited. One, nobody gives a fuck about that card in limited. There's like 3 per box. Nobody gives a shit. Okay? So limited's not the answer. And limited from a design perspective in regards to reshaping your game should never supersede the constructed format, because any design discomfort is 3 months long in limited versus constructed. Yes, are you actively making a lesser product in the limited category? Maybe, right? But you can't make the perfect product, and you have to give and take in certain spots, and if you're going to give and take, don't do it in that direction. I sat down for 30 minutes, probably an hour actually, just thinking, what is the design advantage or feature or aspect that CYB as a generic incorporates into the game? And I started getting to the whole guessing game thing that we just discussed, and I said, "Is there any positive aspect of that?" And I started thinking about other games, and like I know in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like a lot of people enjoy playing Yu-Gi-Oh, obviously, because it's in the top 3 TCGs, and there's a lot of aspects of that card game where, you have, what are they called? Floodgates or whatever, where basically if you get the card, you play it, you win, essentially. And that I can understand. I would hate it personally. That's my opinion. It's not the game for me, but I could understand someone else's enjoyment of playing that type of game, right? They just want all thrills, win on a spot, that kind of like I get it. I get it. Not for me, but I get it. And at that point, so I said, I basically said, is CYB like that? And the answer is it's not, because in Yu-Gi-Oh, you at least have to draw those cards, right? So it's not just you put it in your deck, your opponent did not expect it, you lose the game. Oh, and also Yu-Gi-Oh is a best of 3. So if there ever was that strategy that existed, you at least could sideboard and tailor your deck the correct way. Whereas in Flesh and Blood, that's not the case. You get one chance to play the best game of Flesh and Blood you can each round. And that is completely and utterly diminished when you incorporate this Mario Party 4 ass mini game before the match even starts, of guessing whether this generic ass fatigue card is in this deck. And it's trash. Like I said, everything James said in this article is 100% accurate. I agree with every aspect of it. But it doesn't touch on why CYB, in my opinion, is a poorly designed card. And it's all because of one word. One word. Give it to Assassin. I don't give a shit. Give it to Warrior. Let them have it. Give it to Guardian. Don't care. Give it to Illusionist, as conflicted as that may be. Let them have it. I don't care. Because then I'm able to narrow my scope as a competitive player and attack the meta, not fucking throw a dart at a wall and say, I hope I guess right, and we'll see what happens, right? So, in summary, chat, I agree with the BNR announcement, every aspect of it. The timing of the high octane ban looked very bad, but I give LSS credit that that's not what they intended. But it looks very bad. CYB is a balanced card. It's a well designed card if you took that one word away. The one. Oh, that one word. That one word. I'm telling you. I beg you. All right, if you're the type of person that hit up Twitter and basically said, oh, you don't believe that fatigue is a valid strategy and stuff like that, like you're happy with this article, right? I'm talking to the aggro players right now. Read this article and please try to approach it unlike I did the first time and approach it with as little bias as possible. And try to understand James is trying to create a control aspect to make those players happy and give you ways to navigate those games via on hits, right? Like if you think about it, Enigma, in my Aurora v Enigma matchup, my burn up shot connected probably most of the time, right? Which against a control deck, you're like, what? That shouldn't happen. No, it actually connected most of the time if I put it in Arsenal and played it correctly. And that's how the game should go. I just disagree with this. I'm going to say it again. This Mario Party 4 mini game aspect in sideboarding where I have to guess right. It's cheesy, it's shallow, it's non-intuitive. It doesn't make me a better player. There's nothing I can learn from it. All it does is completely erase any deck that has like any deck that has like a sideboard, like a hard sideboard that you have to bring in to combat fatigue, completely erases those decks. Gone in an instant. Because they pay too much opportunity cost to hedge for it or not hedge for it, and it's bullshit. It is 110% just bad, and it's because of one word. That's my point, chat. That's my point on CYP. Now, I want to go back and read everything that y'all said and interact with all of you because I know I went on a little bit, a tiny tangent, a little bitty. We had the Mario Party references and everything, you know. I call CYB controls belittle every control deck start with it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The problem is that belittle you couldn't just throw in any aggro deck. You had to like I remember Viscerai tried to do the whole belittle thing and that was kind of like it was not that good. So really only certain decks, whereas like anybody can be a fatigue deck now with CYB. CYB's numbers make a lot of C tier and below heroes just better, but added a guessing game on the opponent. Yep, exactly. I remember for a while people thought CYB is a bad card. That's true. And it's not broken. It's a generic word, man. How many heroes cannot get away with CYB? Like, I'm telling you, Bear, I was being generous with the 75%. Aurora, theoretically, you could. You have a stacked armor set and you could put a bunch of 3 blocks in it. There's a world where Aurora could run Fatigue CYB. Nobody'd see it coming. Nobody. You just have Reaping Blade and shit. So what? One, I'm assuming. Two, three, probably not. But no, you don't have a stable weapon. So basically, anything that is not wizard and ranger is the answer. In illusionist, but then illusionist has the counter. So just ranger and wizard are the only. But even one of the wizards can do it. Holy shit! So the answer is Azalea, Riptide, and Kano. Acilio can do CYB, and he actually uses the card design wise the absolute best because he can instantly discard them and skip the linear progression and just skip to the good stuff. So yeah, there's like 3 decks that can't do it. That's it. Hatsu's dead anyway. Why not CYB? How different is CYB from generic D-React package? Because if I'm playing Aurora and you have generic D reaction or defense reactions in Dory, I'm gonna kill you. Simple as that. I'm going to win that game. If you just try to block me out and you don't have life gain, I'm going to win that game. I don't care if you have AB a bajillion, you're gonna lose. Make a split card, Guardian Illusion. I don't care. It just can't say generic. CYB numbers over the same period gain you 52 life, yeah, 54, something like that. Even worse. Yu-Gi-Oh has a. Are you saying a lot of non-games? Yeah, but it's best of 3, and you can sideboard like for that tech. Like if they're running a floodgate, you can have your own floodgates, and like it's a little bit back and forth. Where it's I guess strong. Whoops. Tell them to give my Kano cards back. Sorry about that, bro. Can't help you there. The life is essentially blocking. It's front-loaded blocking. It's basic. If you think about it from a fundamental standpoint, it's basically Crown of Seeds, right? Crown of Seeds gave you the ability to like remove your arsenal to block more damage. You're effectively doing the same thing. You're healing so that you're healing on one turn where they're not producing a lot of damage, which effectively blocks more at a later point. It's the same shit. The difference is you get on hits, which can like make the difference, right? Game needs more graveyard removal. I think they mentioned that. Said the other day the same thing about CYB should have been a verdance card. Yeah, something, anything, just not generic. Nathan's cooking right now. Hopefully I didn't burn it. Mario Party mini game might have been the best thing you've ever said. Every once in a while, I got a good one. They're pretty rare, but when they happen, they happen. Maybe the hunters will have something that somehow minimizes the guessing game due to how bad it beats up CYB. There's not from a design standpoint, you would break the game if that was true. You can't incorporate something so decisive, so strong that can be played into every hero that invalidates that card, right? Because like let's say let's design what would never be printed, right? They literally print a talisman that stays on the board and says they can't play count your blessings, right? And it's a blue and it like doesn't block. Well, when does everybody just run that? Is that the game that we want? Does everybody just run that card into everybody because nobody knows who's doing what? Like that. If that's the case, why did you print the 2 fucking cards in the first place? Now I agree and 100% support like the fun interaction of like gravekeeping. Like there's a lot of good play and stuff like that, right? Like, oh man, he's 2 CYBs in, up gravekeeping. That's like a 1 card 11. The crowd cheers. Like I get it. It's good design. But I will say this. I'll say this with 100% confidence. If CYB blue, it's unbanned. whether there are tools to combat it or not, it will be an overall net negative for the game of Flesh and Blood. From an enjoyment perspective, from a maybe a balanced perspective, probably not. If they unban it, they're going to be 100% sure that it's balanced and there's enough tools. I'm not worried about that. I if I want to go play Mario Party, I'll go play Mario Party. I don't want this in my card games. It doesn't make any sense. It in a game where it already feels so bad to play Wizard and my opponent flip over Illusionist, I don't want that times two. I don't want, oh, this is my bad matchup. Oh, now it's literally a 0% win chance, and I'm wasting the next 50 minutes of my life beating my head against this because I guessed wrong. It's shit. It is bad. I don't know how to say it anymore. It reminds me of the whole is this ice or no fuse Lexi, but like that's one hero. I agree. When they flip over that the death dealer, like it made you cry a little bit. But like it's one hero. I'm perfectly fine with that. But you can't give everybody the option to be ice death dealer Lexi. That is actual cancer. Only thing better than Nathan's spreadsheets and graphs is a tangent. I'm glad you enjoy them. Sometimes I worry I go like too far, and I'm just really trying to get these points across because it's hard being a content creator. This is another little mini tangent, right? It's hard being a content creator, right? Because I I love the game of Flesh and Blood, or I wouldn't make content for it. Like it's literally as simple as that. But at the same time, I think that criticism, although sometimes uncomfortable, is the ultimate tool to lead to growth. And I want to just try and provide that in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, and I'm okay with that. But I also want to do it in a manner where I'm like trying to be somewhat respectful, and I don't want to like, "Oh, you made a dog shit card, like get good. You told us to get good. You need to get good." Like no, like I'm trying to create an environment where everybody can discuss these things, communicate, decide whether we're right or wrong, and then provide the feedback, right? That's like the ultimate goal. But it's very difficult because you're talking to like three different audiences with the same sentence. So you have to structure it away. If you ever notice when I talk sometimes when I get in like deep on the tangent, I'll do these long pauses and stuff. It's literally because I'm trying to very carefully choose words because I want to communicate my what I'm saying to three different audiences. It's tough. It is difficult. It's a lot easier. It would be a lot easier if I didn't give a shit and I just like said what I wanted to say and stuff like that. But that's not what I'm about. Let's see. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Belittle also doesn't change your archetype. Exactly. Exactly. It just makes you like a different aggro deck, right? Levia would have a really hard time, would she? What if she just never ran a card that banishes anything or any blood deck card? Seems fine to me. She could run Romping Club and literally just fatigue the shit out of people. Easy. A bunch of fucking yellows. And just never play a card that banishes anything out of grave. Yeah, okay. Vincent is one of the heroes that cannot do it because of her hero ability. So there's four. You're right. I concede. Riptide can make it work almost. Yeah, I agree on almost, but probably not quite. The Yu-Gi-Oh game is not like that, even if it's a best out of three. Sometimes you play against a deck that has a lot of stuff and it's hard to interact, or maybe Yeah, I mean, sure. You always burn it. CYB also makes having team scout much better. I mean, that's here and over there. I mean, I don't think you ever design a game based on scouting. That's just one of those things that is so far out there that people are going to do it, and there's nothing you can do about it. I think as a player, you need to be aware of the risk you're taking with an off the wall strategy and like the opportunity cost of somebody scouting you. I think if they make more graveyard manor stuff and more generic class specific graveyard, hey, yeah, I don't think it's a solutions issue. I think the solutions they have now are enough and fine. I think gravekeeping is like the answer. It's not poison well, it's gravekeeping. And talisman, of course, of cremation. Mid range needs better options. Aggro versus control gets stale. Yeah. Do you think whatever set they're working on now will have CYB counter? You know what? From a design perspective, I hope not, because just thinking about that just makes me cringe a little bit. The fact that you would print a card and then print the counter to that card in the next fucking set. Like let's swap those. Let's do it the other way around, you know? Like I don't know, let's think outside the box. Let's do 5 generic cards in the expansion slot. Why the fuck not? Anyone else notice the number of heroes in parentheses? Nathan was so mad he physically. Wait, what happened? Oh, no, the number's right there. Oh no, you're right though. I was tilted. So I counted. Oh, you got me fair and square. I got. This is a Lorcana stream now. I don't know about that. Although they do need to let that CYB go. Oh man. That's hilarious that the number's right fucking there. Oh, that's so cringe. Okay, thoughts on the new Mickey Mouse Mario Party 8 Lorcana deck? I mean, that sounds like too much fun for me. I'll put it that way. And are you open to hearing different opinions? Because I actually like CYV very much as it is. I'm always open to hearing different opinions. Always. Forever. That will never change. Being generic, I love the card and I think it's great for the game. So once again, I love the card, but I don't like that every single deck in the game can run it. Because it creates, like I said, the Mario Party guessing game. Before every single match, and if you get wrong, you just feel hopeless. And you should try and actively reduce as a game designer and developer the moments of helplessness while playing a game, because when people feel helpless, I don't know, maybe they don't do it as much. And if they don't do it as much, they don't engage with your game as much, which means your retention is lower, which means your game fails in the long run. Now, I would love to hear why, because that's the only point of contention. Everything with the card is fine. I think it's balanced. Why is that the question I would beg to you is, why is that okay? Why is it okay to incorporate a guessing game before every match? I like the idea of CYB, but I think the disruption could be built in rather than push on your opponent. Yeah, I agree. CYB is fine in a world where graveyard interaction is the norm, as in it's free on top. Yeah, but I 100% agree with you, Jacob. But we're like, I mean, we are a year or two out probably before. I mean, for graveyard interaction to be the norm, like we just got our first call to the grave, which is technically not graveyard interaction, but like a way to get like there's not a whole lot of graveyard interaction. So for it to become the norm is like, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying that there's going to have to be like a Warmonger's Diplomacy level card or something like that to come out, and probably several cards for it to be established as the norm. What if deck lists were handed to your opponent before sideboard? Then I don't like that, because then you're like, then you don't see these very unique strategies that try to take advantage of things, right? And then also, how would you logistically do that? A judge has to go find your deck list before every single match, give it to your opponent, because you can't trust an opponent giving you one, right? So logistically, you just couldn't do that as well, which is why it's only done in top 8. Will Spirit of Christmas go in Victor? I don't think it will, because I think the card says your opponent picks you and you make a gold. The problem is Victor's hero ability says the first time you make a gold. I don't the ultimate the question is, who is making the gold? If Victor is making the gold from a judge perspective, then, you know, unless the gem app could do it. Now, once again, I still don't like the idea, because then you like rob all the creativity and like all the sneaky strategy and stuff like that. But yes, that does handle the logistic problem. But for Victor and the new card, if Victor makes the gold, then he would draw a card, and like, it's basically, it replaces itself. I don't know if it has go again. Is it a CYB problem or a part of Misvale problem? Honestly, it's more of an MST problem to me personally. I mean, the MST heroes are the most pushed we've ever seen, in my opinion. Uh, and the reason behind that is something that I think a lot of people don't want to say, but I really don't like saying things like this. But MST, the Mystic Talent, from a fundamental perspective, invalidates the core flesh and blood principle of having pitch cards. Now, I know somebody in chat's thinking, how does that make any fucking sense when when Mystic decks are half blue? And the reason is, if you get the same value from a blue card and a red card, the strip at the top doesn't fucking matter. That's the reality of it. And the Mystic Talent, I think, to a lesser extent, kind of just does that. B Strike is a great example, right? It's literally E Strike, but blue. And the second you do that, every other deck that you play against has to run a hard ratio of blues and reds, and they have to draw them together. And you get to have the same offensive output while not worrying about that. You literally run as many blues as Guardian with a way lower cost curve. So you're just immune to bricking from a pitch perspective. And you get to have the same output, which I get it. I get the design principle that you need to make the transcend worth it. You need to feel empowered. You need to feel like you went through all that work for nothing. But if you're playing above rate blues, did you really have to work for it? Or are we just like raising our hand and transcending? I think that's where it got lost. There's too many blues that have a little too much value on them in a lot of these decks. So they make you feel powerful when you transcend. The part that could have been better was, I don't think they made you work hard enough. Because the blues today are so good that playing a blue is That's not a cost. It just isn't. Nobody has ever complained about playing levels of enlightenment to transcend. You'll never hear anybody complain about that. They would love to do that every single turn. So, I don't know. I think that's why MST is a cut above the rest, is because from a fundamental level, it kind of invalidates one of the hard ratios and variances built in. CYB is a playtest cycle issue, not a design one. You're gonna have to help me with that one, Edward. A playtest cycle. You're saying that they play tested it in one period, it was okay, and then they like made cards to fix it, but we no longer have those cards. Is that? Those are supposed to be either weak or very situational, like head jab or warmongers. That was great design. Yeah, like high opportunity cost to play your blues. Problem is the blues are so good that the cost of transcending is not actually a cost. Not to mention your chi pitch effects turn any chi in your hand into a card stronger. Well, that's the part that they got right. Right, was like you transcend. You want to feel powerful, like you're on that next level. Right. Um, I just think some of the blues could have been weaker. I think you literally solve it if the blues were a little bit weaker. Why even raise my Zen, the only hero that really cares about transcending the others, could easily play an entire game without. I mean, that's yes and no. Just the thematics messed up the balance of the set. That's a really. I'm not gonna say it, but James's reasoning was amazing, except on hit punishes of CYB can be hard to feel through the explosive word turn. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think everything on James's article was spot on. Just my complaint was the one thing that wasn't in the article, and ultimately what my problem is with CYB. Shout out to Thomas in chat though. I appreciate you being here, Thomas. I know the past couple streams we've kind of been disagreeing a lot on a lot of the points, but you're still showing up, and I appreciate your input. I've learned a lot from the pushback. Hope you have as well. Just for me to understand, Prism is in fact the best deck in your opinion. Oh, well, okay. So that's going to be our next point of discussion after I get caught up in chat, and then yes, we're going to get into the impacts in the meta. Just for me to understand. I think Edwards blaming the book banning for CYB being good. I disagree. I'm not sure. Here's Edward. Uh, Looks like it was tested in a vacuum and it wasn't tested enough to catch the broken. But yeah, I don't know. But like, it's not that it's broken. It's just I don't know. Like, I think they made a very well designed card and did not understand what they were doing holistically to the game by incorporating it in generic. I think it's that simple. I think they made a great fatigue tool and then gave it to every deck in the game that also has a really good fridge now. I mean, almost every hero in the game has somewhat of a fridge now with the skull cap or the Arcanite set and Stonewall gauntlets. Like everybody has fridges. Like it's insane. What above rate blues are played in Zen? I don't feel good. I don't know. Ancestral harmony seems pretty good to me. I don't know. Just throw it out there, you know. +1 on all your fucking attacks, and then maybe even get a free card back. You know, there's a few. There's a few. Just got here. What was missing for you missed a tangent or two. So if that's your thing, go back and watch it. We went in deep on CYB and high octane a little bit as well. Sorry if you've talked about this already, but are you hopeful only banning blue will be regularly fine? Yeah. Um, the blue is uh I don't know if it's enough. I'll put it that way. I'm not confident that it is. I'll put it that way. So I think we're on the same wavelength. Maybe James is well, I if I'm being once again, I was in the military for a while and there was a saying that perception is reality. And that's because 80% of the time it usually is, and like the other 20 it's not. So why risk the 80% just to be right on the 20% kind of situation? The Armory promo or something is CYB in December. And so maybe they didn't want to just ban the card to invalidate the Armory promo. That way attendance wouldn't just dip in December when it's probably going to dip anyway because the holidays. Just once again, just it's what it looks like. Love your stream. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. James White says something about wanting strong generics, and I kind of completely disagree. I think strong generics classes don't let the. Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. 153. We're doing it. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. Just wait till a tier list video. The 153 ain't nothing. But I appreciate everybody being here. Even Prism has a good fridge. See? That's what I'm saying. We got the better Crawford in the chat. We got the better Crawford. If you give Go White decks Guardian pitch level was apparently bad. Yeah, it's well said, Edward. That's well said. Everyone has fridges, but Civics are still best in slot. Yeah. Tell me you tell me you play WoW without telling me you play WoW. Best in slot. Talking about the armor problem. That's why I love design of Jarl. I think the design behind Jarl is actually amazing because there's so much depth to it. Talking about the armor problem. Oh yeah, I just read that one. Yeah, Harmony is good. I forgot about that. Accepted that. Also Zen can transcend off another transcend that too. I mean, yeah. There's so many different things. And Zen gets the benefit of gaining the resources when he transcends. So if there's is like this weird cost associated with doing so, he's usually paid back by gaining that resource. But levels is another one, like there's a lot of them. Double transcending is cracked. Yeah. Nathan gonna make a tier list right now. No tier list right now. We're just gonna discuss. I mean, I'm a man of the people. So if a tier list is how we have to communicate how CYB being hit is going to change the meta, then chat, y'all let me know. I'm a man of the people. So if a tier list is what you want, it's what you're going to get. Y'all just let me know in chat. Okay. So one thing I need to bring up, if anybody, this is very, very important. Please hear me out on this. If you are playing in an event in the next month or so, and you are looking at Tashar data, there is a current situation that is either I do not know if it's intentional or accidental, but there is current manipulation of the data in February from Tashar. Let me explain. This is very important because it's throwing everything off, everything we know. Okay. We're going to go to meta results, right? This is the data that we like to use for, how heroes are doing and things like that, right? And right now we have 13 days worth of data, almost 2 weeks, which is a really good number, right? Like that's almost half a month, right? And something caught my eye. And that was Viserai's screaming. And I say screaming 73% win rate. Never in the game of Flesh and Blood has any hero for a good sample sizing had that high of a win rate. 12,000 games. 12,000 games with a 73% win rate on Tashar has never been achieved. And it's because this data has been manipulated. Let me show you how. If you go to most played, okay? And like I said, I'm not trying to call foul play. This could be a complete accident. It could be a glitch or something. I'm just going to show you how the data is corrupted, okay? Or not accurate. Okay. If we go down to Viserai, which is the one in question, you will immediately see it. And all you had to do was pull up this. And that is that Viserai has a 95% win rate into Florian, which is not a surprise. We know that Viserai is good into Florian, right? Unless I'm playing into Taylor. And then, but we have to look at the samples. Like, why the hell is somebody playing 5,500 Viserai Florian games in 13 days? And the reason that you know that something is wrong is if you go over it, you'll notice that 5.3K of the 5.5K, so all but 200 fucking games, the Viserai player went first. That's wrong. What that means is that I've seen this happen before, actually. Back when it was right before Worlds, I saw it happen with the Dory v Icelander matchup. But what happened, one of the ways that you can make this happen, and I hate disclosing this because it gives people the ability to do it. But what you can do, if I'm not mistaken, is go to Tashar and just boot up, concede, quick rematch, concede, quick rematch, concede, quick rematch, concede. You can just loop that, right? You can just loop that, do it, 2 people doing it. You can get 5,000 in a couple hours. Or you can even get a macro to do it like Metal saying in chat. What I'm saying is this data is not accurate. There's something wrong here. It could be by accident. It could be on purpose. I've seen this before. You might say, why would somebody do that? Well, if I had a deck that was really fucking good into Viserai, or whether you have a deck that's good into Viserai or bad into Viserai, this actually still helps you, because if you have a deck that is, say, bad into Viserai and people see a 73% win rate, what are all the sideboarding cards that everybody's bringing going to be going toward? Fucking Viserai, which is going to be hopefully reducing the win rate of your, actively hindering the deck that you're bad into, essentially. So, like I said, I'm not trying to call foul play. I'm just saying that this is wrong. Don't take it for anything. Just, it just straight up happens. I don't think it's a case of manipulation. I mean, it very well could be. Like I said, I'm not trying to call foul play. I'm just saying it's fucked up. That's all I'm trying to communicate. And so I just wanted to I think we have the same thing here. Yeah, we actually have the oh, that's the same matchup in reverse. Yeah, that's the Florian the fucking 4%. Big ass circle. So yeah. Also, if anybody from Tashar or Fabry sees this, I don't I don't know enough about this stuff to say that if there's a solution or what the solution may even be. But basically, what it 100% means that if Florian wins the next calling, then you know, it was them. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let me get caught up in chat, and then we're gonna get into the meta changes from the ban announcement. Is Olympia good into Jarl because he can re-equip armor? No, Olympia is bad into Jarl because Olympia is bad. That's so mean, but it's so true. Tier list, let's go. Uh-oh. I only speak tier list. I lived through the Nathan Crawford tier list. Okay, do it, coward. All right, we got to do it. We got to do it. Yeah, see, Matt's on to something. We basically have to do a tier list now. Okay. We will do it. Like I said, I'm a man of the people. There's a Tower Shard bug where if you click skip all rune chants when you're about to die, you take as many losses as rune chants. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. That's actually hilarious. You take as many loss. I mean, that's actually provable, right? Because then you would go to your results tab and it would say you lost 200 games or whatever, you know, like something just crazy. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So it's not foul play. It is not foul play. But just in your analysis or deck selection decision, whatever the case may be, you gotta, you know, keep this in mind. He's not doing as well as you think he is. We are going to be tier listing. The chat has decided. Mr. Crawford, will you be at the Calling Portland? Currently, I am right on the fence of going or not. I will know by next stream. Reduced to rune chant win rate. Okay, that was a compliment. Is Olympia bad? Yes. Is he the worst hero in the game? Probably. Was Olympia a design mistake? No. Olympia and Betsy were not design mistakes. They were very temporary solutions for limited. Is what happened. That's my theory. Is that they needed to solve a limited problem, and then they were like, "Yeah, let's do this, and then we'll fix this shit later." Basically, kind of my idea. Do you think I should sell my Florian deck? Saw he has a 33, but yeah, it works both ways, right? Hey, if you're gonna buy your failings and your plows, you should probably buy them now while everybody's offloading them. You should buy metals. I'll tell you that. This is the only tier list where I'll let you know put Kano in F tier and not be a psyop. Will you sign a Marvel Young Briar for me? I would hate to ruin such a beautiful card with my signature, but if that's what you want, I'm more than willing to do so. Read the top meta results. It states the known bug. What? Oh shit. Look at that. Look at that. See, that's why Philip's the GOAT. They just know it all. That's funny. I didn't even know that was there. Of course you believe me, chat, because I literally counted 36 heroes while the 36 was in parentheses. That was a rough one. That was a rough one. I can't believe I got to go back and look. For anybody that missed it, I was making a point on CYB. I literally went through and counted all 36. I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times 3, 30, 33 plus 3, 36. And then it was just fucking sitting there. Oh, man. What a struggle. What a struggle. Okay. Anyway, let me switch cameras real quick and chat with you beautiful people while I go get my tier list all squared away. Who taught these players to read? Apparently nobody. Apparently nobody. But if anybody has, you know, a history of not reading stuff, it is TCG players. That much I can guarantee. Ba-ba-da. Must not be TCG player. Not called reading card game. See, somebody gets it. Somebody gets it. What's the last set? Rosetta. Somebody's made one. Boom. Whoever makes these, you're the GOAT. I appreciate it. I appreciate it because you save me an astronomical amount of time. Not uploading images and stuff like that. I appreciate it. Okay, let's swing back to our tier list. We did it. We get caught up in chat real quick before we do it. Now, I am going to. So I did a tier list like right before Worlds. Also, by the way, humble brag. I said that Zen was the best deck in Classic Constructed, and it won the Classic Constructed calling. So I'm not gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. I was right. And if you want to see the best tier list in the business, this is where you go. It's that simple. It's that simple. Some of the other heroes, we're not going to talk about those. We're not going to talk about those. But the data point that mattered, we got it. We got it. Add Max to the tier list a second time as a callback. I mean, Max is, I think, unplayable. Like, could be. If he didn't have boost cards, he would be the worst hero in the game. I mean, he is. I was worried about him when he lost Pistol, but if he loses Pistol, he might be just the worst. Because I mean, the suit's just, I don't know, it's rough. Now he just gets fatigued. Florian's not a 33% win rate. It is not. It is not. It is the error. Let me make sure not to use Tashar win rates for your. Oh, we're not. No. I don't ever do that. Ever do that. Prism S tier, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I only started playing MST. Are there any good draconic talent cards I should pick up for Fang before he comes out? Thal's gonna be probably Liquefy is. I don't know about that one. Uprising could be good. It's like good curve. It's 0 cost if I'm not mistaken, and Uprising is probably a solid pickup that I would get. Thaw is probably really cheap, and you have Ice coming back into the format, so I don't hate the idea. Liquefy, I don't think you need it personally. Other than that, Draconic card, the Fable could be good. It could be good. There has to be like enough one cost, and it's weird, but I doubt it will be good. I would not go out of my way to get a Fable, but in the very small chance that it does, I don't know. He has wrench. Yeah, he does have a wrench. If Moonshot wasn't the worst card ever printed, maybe he could be real hero. Hey, I drafted moonshot at Worlds. It was second to last pick in the pack, but I drafted it. And then later I drafted a yellow backup protocol in which I would set up I would block with the moonshot, Arsenal the yellow backup protocol, and then I played out a bunch of hyperdrivers, and then I would back up protocol into the moonshot. So sometimes you gotta use all your resources. Okay, let's dive in. Okay. We've already been going for about an hour and a half, and I was intending for this one to be a little bit on the shorter side. So we're gonna do this pretty quickly. And anything that I'm only gonna really focus on, like, oh, this changed, or oh, this did not change, kind of aspect. In which it would be me. Let me swap one thing around, chat. I'm not putting you guys on hold. 1 second. I'm just grabbing my old tier list, putting it next to it to kind of derive my points and go from there. We're not going to copy it, but we are going to say, okay, well, what changed? So we'll start from the top and go up, right? Let me fix one thing real quick. Interesting. Okay. Go in game and then pull this back up so everyone can see it. And then we go here, bring my chat back up, and we are golden. We got it. I spoke too soon. Sorry, chat. There we go. We got there. Okay. So we're just going to start where we kind of left off. And we said that Zen was best deck in format. And he won the CC calling, which was a good call by us. But does that stay the same? And the answer is I'm not. Oh, Spreading Flames is a good one. Thank you for mentioning that. That would be a good pickup as well. Celio is S tier. Interesting. Interesting, to say the least. Okay. So we said Zen was the best. Actually, let's just go ahead. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place everything where I had it before, and then we're just gonna move stuff around. Let's do it that way. I think that makes the most sense. And we can also talk kind of like how I was a little bit right, a little bit wrong, kind of create the whole picture. We put new next. Where's my new? Here's my new. And then we had Victor. Where me Victor? Had Vinny and Phi and KO and Leviat and Azuri and Riptide. And then we had Verdance, Dash, Basilio, Dory, Max. Then we had Kano, Bolton, Bravo, Sai, Reinhardt, and then we had these in another tier, but we're not gonna make another tier. We're just gonna say these are bad. Okay. There we go. So this is where we were kind of at last time when we did the tier list. Now I can just minimize this and kind of talk around it. Let's see. Make sure I didn't miss anything in chat. Good to go. Even if Fang is the reddest warrior ever printed, I doubt you'll be able to run Tome of the Imperial Flame. Well, Tome is banned, right? No, that Tome's the one where you pitch him. Yeah. I don't know. Not entirely sure. Furnace. I would definitely get Furnace. 100%. If you're thinking about playing cards from the new set. Okay, let's go ahead and dig in. So, we were pretty spot on with these two being top tier decks, right? I think most of it made up. I mean, basically, these four heroes plus new were the top 8 in the world. So we were very spot on our four heroes. Should one be higher than the other and stuff like that? Sure, that's a conversation to be had. Obviously, we're 100% accurate if we just move new to above Azalea. This would be like literally perfect. Obviously, Zen could be like somewhere else, but like generally we nailed it. If new was just a little bit higher from a top 8 perspective. So we did really good. Florian was probably a little bit too high, if I'm being honest. I was a little bit stronger on him than some other people. I don't think enough Victor to showed up to really prove a point or disprove a point, but he could probably be lower. My theory on KO was pretty accurate that he just did not do enough, so he did not do very well. And Acilio kind of surprised a lot of people. There were a couple that did really good. They were specialists, so that I'm not really 100% sure how you actually weigh that into the equation on like, just because Majin or Peter or, any of these devoted wizard players can, do, can play that hero, does it mean that the hero is actually S tier or A tier? I don't know. I guess you'd have to do all the context in their specialist form, which is kind of dangerous territory because then I'm telling everybody Acilio's up here and then they pick the deck up and then they have a 30% win rate for some reason. But I think Acilio is solid. Um, so let's go ahead and change a couple things. Let's talk broad perspective. What kind of happens when the bans take effect, which is obviously right now. High octane makes this deck much more fatigable. It's literally as simple as that. You have to. The burden of proof is so much more on the Dash.io player. It's like if you don't play against somebody that's playing this deck for an astronomical amount of time, you're probably going to be able to fatigue them. Simple as that. Without CYB, don't even need it. So that's kind of the weakness that opens up a little bit. The CYB banning, obviously, new kind of gets hurt a little bit because now you have to run another blue that's actually okay. You remove the ceiling for some matchups. I'm undecided on how much that actually impacts, you know, uh, the format. I'm not entirely sold on whether CYB is dead or not. I'm undecided. And that, oh no. I just realized, chat, almost made a boo boo. There's a very important hero that is not on this list right now. Let me go grab an Ira. Very important hero right now. Come on. That's save image. Desktop. Ira. Okay, go here, and then we will choose file. Ira. Open. Boom. Go back. Okay, we have our Ira now. And I think she's pretty good. Could be down here. But she's like a good deck. She's right in the mix here for sure. So let's go ahead and start moving some heroes around. Okay, I think Zen is still a fine pick. You lose some equity in being as defensive as you were because this is no longer fatigable. You still have this as a solid matchup, and you kind of still have to lean on those fatigue tools or the defensive tools for both new and Aurora, but you still have to be offensive enough for Enigma. So I think you can actually afford to take maybe the wax on, wax off package out of Zen, but keep a lot of the other D reacts for the Aurora matchup, and it really pay off. And that way you can be a little bit more aggressive in the matchups where you need to be, like Ira and Enigma. I think that's going to be the key for Zen. So I still think Zen is in a really good spot. Is he the best deck in the game? Probably not. I think he's going to lose some equity. Dash IO is going to go down, not terribly much. I think she's going to be toward like the bottom of A, but Dash IE is going to just get dumpstered. I mean, Gonzo. Just out of here. And then Max is going to go right down there with her. Max is just gone. Simple as that. If we're being honest, I actually like. It's gonna sound crazy, but I like Reinar up here to fill the spot, and then probably Prism does go up. KO stays the same. Can he get better or worse? Celia went up. Victor, we got more. I think the biggest change is that new becomes a lot better. New becomes a lot better. I think currently, I think currently there's a good chance that new, if she can solve the Viserai matchup and the Enigma matchup, which the Enigma matchup, they've made a lot of headway on that matchup. And I think if they can keep that and be a lot better into Viserai, I think new is it's I think new's really good. Like really good. Um I am gonna say that Viserai gets a lot better. Because the one thing holding Viserai down a little bit was Dash IE, or not IE, but IO could was favored into Viserai because she was just so fast that if you had one like halfway turn that you would just win. Especially when they know about the setup and go strategy. But the funny part is like now that they know that, they lost their best tool against that. So it doesn't really matter. So I think Viserai is just in a better spot. Ira's in a really good deck. I'm a lot lower on Azalea than I have been recently, if I'm being 100% honest. So let's ask yourself, how does Azalea work into this? Bad, not great, bad, because it's very defensively postured now. Kind of mid, probably okay, and then bad. So you're just not good into a lot of those matchups. So I'm a lot lower. I think she is the biggest loser of the not directly impacted by the ban out of all the heroes currently. Um, I think she had a lot to lose by just these heroes kind of moving up. Florian's bad into Viserai, okay into new, and iffy into Zen, depending on how aggressive it's leaning. I think the Enigma matchup's actually not that bad, and then Aurora can be dicey, but you're good into Ira, really good into Ira, actually. And so I think he's an okay pick. I don't know if he's this high, but let's do. I just think KO is so bad right now. Yeah, Azalea Cope is over. I 100% agree. I'm trying to think as far as Levia. Like what reason do you have to play Levia Nu's kind of a scary matchup. Viscera can be scary because he can just block you out of nowhere and just force you to have it. This is not where you want to be either. I mean, you're probably good here, but I don't know. I mean, I'd rather play Levi than KO, if I'm being honest. KO is just horrible. This is the worst I think KO has ever been in the game of Flesh and Blood. Me personally. So we'd probably go there. Is that the right place for Florian is the question. Florian is iffy here, bad here, okay here, slightly under, super favored. That's an okay spread. For Dash IO, you are unfavored now. Unfavored, 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 favored, unfavored. Holy shit, Dash IO is bad now. No way. I think everything after Florian could go to B tier. You know what? I'm not gonna lie, that thought crossed my mind. I was like, they're there obviously to make things even, but we might just have to break the mold because this one's already breaking it anyway. So I I think you're right. They just like the gap here is astronomical. Like bringing Ira versus bringing Florian, it feels different. I agree with you. I'm actually gonna do that. I 100% agree with that idea. The problem with doing that is now this just feels off. So we gotta do some work here. Poor brutes. But people are blocking now. When people block, brutes don't like it. So now we just get like that. So like these are your 6 decks. Are we okay with making that statement? Because if we do the tier list like that, we have to be confident. We have to be um I'm pretty confident. Like I think that was a really, really good idea. I think that was a really good idea. Maybe not Florian. Hmm. Sorry, chat. I'm pulling up a backup. It says chat keeps disconnecting for some reason, but I'm not losing frames. So I don't know what's going on. I'm just pulling it up on my phone to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I think I am. Okay, I'm not missing anything. We're okay. Yeah, everything other than those 6 decks looks sus. I kind of agree. Florian's the mid-range king, of course. Is Fi good into any of the top 6 decks? Well, let's run it. Actually, that's what we're gonna do. I think we can all agree that these 6 decks are pretty good, right? They have aggro outlets while also having the ability to be defensive, which I think is the current place you want to be in the game of Flesh and Blood. So let's go. We've already went over Florian, and we're gonna go like how all these decks match up. We've already done these two. Acelia, really good into Ira because she can't force the life totals down. Probably kind of sus against Aurora because she's not going to give you time. This matchup is probably better than you would think, especially if the Enigmas go off of CYB. Probably rough here if we're being honest. And I'm going to be 100% real. I don't know about these two. I'm going to keep it 100. He can probably pressure enough. I think, yeah, Acelia looks pretty good. Prism. Gonna have a hard time into Ira. Believe it or not, I think Prism's actually favored into Aurora if they're on the aggro Herald plan. Bad matchup into Enigma. Probably favored into New. Maybe not. Viscera is kind of tough. And Zen, you're probably favored. So yeah, Prism's an okay pick. Isn't Vis better than New? Was Acilio at the bottom of B? Give the list hope. I got him at the top of B. I got him literally at the top of B. Yeah, Phi is not gonna cut it though. Phi is actually pretty good into Ira because he has that constant throughput. Worse aggro deck than Aurora. Good here. I think bad here, and bad here. So he's like a mid pick, which is why he's in B. Victor. Probably good here. I think you can build it aggro enough to where you can just overcome the mid-ranginess of Ira. Probably pretty decent into Aurora. Bad into Enigma. Kind of rough into New, if we're being honest, and kind of rough into Viscera. So yeah, about middle of the road. There. This is going to get fatigued by half of this. So yep, that's accurate. We already went over those two. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. Florian is way too high, in my opinion. Deck is so mid. I kind of agree with you, Taylor, but I think that the Ira matchup is so good for Florian that it's literally a reason to bring him. Like if you build like an aggro Florian that has a defensive package, I think you're okay into Enigma. You're super good here. And you're actually pretty good into New too. So you got like two really strong matchups, a coin flip, and then like you're like 2 favored, 2 coin flips, 2 unfavored kind of situation. And it's like not the worst place you could be. I don't know. I could be coping. It's possible. Celia broken. Isn't this better than New? It depends. I don't know. So New is more resilient. I'll put it that way, because if I'm being 100% honest, I'm defaulting on the fact that Mystic heroes are just fucking busted. I'm giving that the edge. If we're being 100% honest, I said in my last tier list that in a vacuum, Viscera is the strongest hero in the game. But matchup spread, I put Zen above. The problem is now that Viscera has been redefined, I think that the worst thing for Viscera is going to be the mirror. Because there's going to be an optimal way to play Viscera, right? And I think that is like the Noah list, right? The set up and go kind of strategy. But if you want to edge in the mirror, you need to play it aggressively. You need to play like traditional aggro, kind of like Brody's list, something along those lines, where it's like just a bunch of Rune Rager swarms and go agains and stuff like that. And yeah, like that's how you're going to get the edge in the mirror. Maybe that's untested. Historically, that's how it's gone, but that is not tested. I could be wrong on that. Can we add Jarl, since we know about 90% of what we will have, even if he's not top tier? Sure, of course we can. Give me a second. Let me swap over here real quick. I will get him. Save image real quick. Then we go back here. Choose file. Go Jarl. Boom. Boom. We now have a Jarl image. Like, what is this bad matchup right now? I think that the new players are going to find a way to adapt. That's what I'm. So To answer your question straight up, Zen is a horrendous matchup for Viserai. Period. Zen State Token is absolutely busted in that matchup. So that's your bad matchup. Like decisively, it is bad. And then I think the news are going to be able to problem solve that matchup. Currently, I think it's very Viserai favored, but don't give up. There might be some erase face, pummel shenanigans, or just something outside the box. Assassins have a huge toolkit to problem solve with, and I think they're going to be able to now that Viserai has a target on his back. And I'll place Jarl in just a second for pockets. Right now, there feels like zero reason to play anything not in the top 6 decks right now. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Those, I'm very confident in saying that those are the 6 best decks. So wouldn't Zen and New be swapped? It could. That's what the old tier list looked like. It very well could. The problem with Zen is there's a good chance that Ira actually plays that same game style a little bit better. So I think if Ira did not move up in the meta, I would 100% agree. We make this swap like this. But because Ira moved up, and I think that's the biggest matchup that Zen kind of doesn't want to see. And also, new into Zen, even with the defensive package, it's not where you exactly want to be. So I think also being favored in this matchup gives the edge to new is kind of my thought process. Brendan, I wasn't going to do tier list, but chat forced me into it. It's their fault. Basilio is very good into top decks. Yudo showed me the truth. I agree. That's why he's way up there. And he went from literally like here to there. But yes, he is good into a lot of them. I am a Cilio believer. 100%. Should he be high? Maybe. Maybe. QIB should have been an Earth card. I would have been happy with it being anything other than generic. It could have been a talent. It could have been a class. It could have been... Hell, they could have made it Lightning and Earth. I don't give a shit. It just could not have been... It cannot be a generic. That's simple. Could you talk a little bit about why Ira is so good? Okay, let's talk about it. What we're gonna do is to talk about it, we are going to pull up Shoma's Ira deck that he took to the Battle Hardened Worlds. Or not somewhere in Japan there was a Battle Hardened the weekend after Worlds, I think. And it was a CC Battle Hardened. And he made top 8. This is Shoma that won the Pro Tour on Azuri. This is his deck list. And it does some things. It does some really cool things. It has the defensive package, Sync Blow, Flick Flax. Also has the unique ability to actually play looking for scrap because you have a bunch of 1-cost blue combo cards that synergize both with looking for scrap and Flick Flack. You have on-hit effects in the form of Command and Conquer and Erase Face. And then you have an entire aggro sideboard that comes in and you take all the defensive cards out against Enigma, basically. And surprisingly, I thought that this deck would absolutely be so bad into Enigma, but it's actually not that bad. It is actually not that bad. So this deck, I was very impressed with. So as far as matchups are concerned, I think you can actually outvalue the Auroras, and if they have one off turn, they lose the game. Simple as that. Like I said, the Enigma matchup, I don't think it's amazing, but it's not bad. It's probably 40-60, something like that. I think you're actually favored into Zen. I think if you're playing an average Viscerai, you're in a decent shape. Although at the highest level, it's pretty Viscerai favored. And I think you're very favored into New. Like very favored. So out of all of these, you have one bad matchup being Viscerai. So actually, I'm gonna give Ira the edge over Aurora. Really good matchup spread. It is kind of what Ira is accomplishing right now. Betsy is S tier. Stop hating. Um, yeah, no, she's not. Maybe in Mario Party 4. That's how I feel with Fi. And I think he has a few really good cards going into this meta. I don't know about Fi. I think Aurora beats Fi. I think Zen beats Fi. I think Viscerai beats Fi. I don't know. Spirit of Christmas is CC legal. It's on the special use promo page. Okay. So the only thing to determine whether it's like actually playable is can Victor draw a card? Is he making the gold? Is the question. Just arrived here. Why Aurora isn't S tier? The thought process is that she's not the best aggro deck. Well, I guess technically she is because this isn't really an aggro deck. Viscerai at its peak is not an aggro deck. It's more of a set up and go. Same here, same here, same here. The problem is you don't actually gain that much value by taking on the risk of the no blocks and all these other things against these decks, is the problem. She's not bad. Just Fi about to LL right as the hunted release. We'll see. None of this matters. Mario Party Chaos Arachne gonna be Bowser tier. We hope, right? We hope. Dude, I'm gonna be so sad when Fi goes right away after being impressed for so long. I mean, he's basically got one foot out the door. That's for sure. Let's talk about Jarl. It's actually a very interesting pick. So, Jarl, and I guess the only real point of talking about Jarl is comparing him to. We're just gonna put him into the six decks, because this stuff's kind of one. It's too much, too long, and I don't think it's extremely relevant. So, once again, Good and Florian. It all depends on who is making the tokens, because Florian's hero ability says every token you create. If you are making the ones that go on their side, they get double. So I don't. It all depends on who is actively creating the tokens. Is it whoever owns the card? Is it each person on their side? Like, I don't know. I can't analyze the card until that is decided. But it's not even that great because you have no gold outlet, right? You don't have cash in anymore, so you can't do that funny business. Double agility is literally pointless. So you're literally just making 2 might and 2 might and 2 vigor, and then a couple gold for filtering. It's not terrible. Victor should draw from it. You are the controller of the card. For example, if Icelander gives you a token, Florian does not double it. Okay. So that would mean that he would double the tokens that he gives to the opponent, correct? So if Florian's turned on, you give the opponent 2 Vigor tokens, 2 Might tokens, 2 of everything. And that gets real sus real quick. If what you're saying is true. So Jarl into Aurora is going to be the freest shit on the planet. Literally, you win the entire matchup by resolving 1 card, and that is Arctic Incarceration Red. Literally. This will be wizard into illusionist levels of bad. To the point to where I think Aurora will just disappear overnight. Not due to viability, but literally due to frustration from this hero. I'm not joking. Uh, Either that or she's going to have to go back to the drawing board and maybe she goes to a different curve, but the current 53 red, it's just not going to happen. I'm telling you, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to happen. Ira has the potential to just outvalue you. If we're being 100% honest, she wants to block. She has a lot of blues to kind of pay through everything, so that matchup could be a little dicey. I'm gonna I'm gonna let you know now. This is going to be Prism Oldham levels of bad, right here. So what you have in Aurora, you have the complete opposite in Enigma. So currently we're kind of iffy here. We're really good here, and we're really bad here, right? New Your blues actually are not that good. You don't, depending on your deck build, of course, but you're not. Every other card's not Thunderquake, Cranial Crush, because you have a lot of your ice cards built into your blues that aren't like just amazing to play out, right? So the hero ability is not that good. The problem is, can you still do your progression stuff and get to that frostbite state? And does the frostbite actually make that big of an impact against a deck that is Mystic? And the answer is I don't think so. So I don't think this particular matchup is going to be like awful, but it's going to be unfavored, is my opinion. Viserai, I think, is going to probably steamroll this deck, if I had to guess. Because you can mess with the armor all you want, but if I'm just floating Rune Chance, not only that, but all my discount cards like Ninth Blade, Amp, Rune Flash, if I have more if I have more Rune Chance than you have Frostbites, this shit's free. It doesn't disrupt me in any way. So I think that play pattern actively just destroys what Jarl is trying to do. And then Zen, I think the Frostbites for a Mystic hero perspective will be the most impactful. I think this matchup will be fine. Not great, not bad, but fine. So, really good, mid, really bad, mid, bad, slightly bad. Not that great of a spread. If we're being honest, I think upon entry, not assuming anything from the Haunted set, he'll probably land somewhere around here, if I had to guess. Just on release with no other knowledge, no mastery pack or whatever they're calling that Guardian set or anything like that. So let me see if chat disagrees or can sway me one way or another. Does Victor give Florian extra tokens? If Florian is active, that will answer your question. I don't think he does. I was running a 12 blue Aurora list for a while that did very well for me in PQ. I think the more red line is better. I'm going to be on until. Yeah. Yeah, I think Aurora is fantastic until Jarl comes out, and then we're going to have to problem solve that one. I think Ira is fine. You can outvalue her with Oaken. Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I think it's an okay matchup. Not great, but not one you like really want to see. Dachis are a bitch. Probably still a bad matchup though. Jarl killing off Mask of Recurring Nightmare. Well, that's a good point. That's actually a good point. Okay. This was really good against Viscera back in the day. Yeah, but now he's more set up and go. So it is different. It is different. I agree with you back in the day. And if Viscera ever goes back to being the aggro deck, kind of like the Brody list and stuff like that, it's probably pretty good into it. Would you recommend Ira or Zen for longevity? By longevity, I'm assuming, are you meaning financial longevity or competitive longevity? Like, I want to learn this hero and like be a specialist and have the most runway, or like, are you talking about it in a more financial perspective? I asked for Acelio to be top of B tier. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Actually, it might be. Okay there, mid there, bad there. I'm gonna hold. I'm gonna hold. I'm not quite sold. I'm a Celio believer. I'll give you one spot. I'll go there, and the mask point will move up Jarl. Competitive longevity. So Viscerai has quite a few LL points. I anticipate Viscerai saddens me to say, but I think Viscerai will LL the next PQ or RTN season, whichever one is next. If things remain like unchanged or whatever. And um if that happens, you're deleting one of the biggest reasons to play Zen, right? The value of your Sin State token literally gets cut in half overnight. So, from a competitive longevity perspective, I think Ira is the better pick. Maybe Summer's Fall could solve Enigma problem for Jarl. You, if LSS lets you run 60 Summer's Fall, you're losing that match. Like, you can run 9 Summer's Fall, it's not gonna matter. That will be an auto loss matchup. I guarantee it. Convince me to take Ira Zen over Fi to Portland. I think they're both better than Fi. I think it's if you so my thought process would be if you think Viscera would be the most represented, you take Zen. If you think New is the most represented, you take Ira. That's your 2 decision points. Or if you're not confident in your Ira, if you're worried about the Enigma being matchup being more difficult, play Zen because Zen is naturally better into Enigma, whereas you really got it's not the worst for Ira, but you really got to work for it. You don't have room for any mistakes. Whereas Zen, you might can butcher 1 or 2. I want to say Ira if you want to play longer. She's gonna yeah, she kind of has that Hatchet Dory style. It's a great comparison. Enigma is always the most represented. Then I would bring Sin. Talking to assuming you have like no specialist experience or anything like that. Yeah, so that's my opinion on the changes to the meta. I don't know. We will see. We're gonna put that there just to kind of even that out. Kind of bothered me a little bit, but we made us a little Tetris piece, you know. And yeah, I think I'm shout out to the person in chat that suggested just deleting the heroes from A and moving them down to B because I think that's I think I was literally just latching on to him due to symmetry. It had nothing more or less than that. Um, so, but I literally think that if you're going to calling Portland, I think you should be on one of these 6 heroes. There is an angle of attack for Dio. Don't sleep on Dio. Dio's not going to be gone. She will be much less represented, but not gone. Dio is still fine because you're boom grenading into Aurora. Just anybody that wants to block the matchup gets a little worse. A lot worse. Oh, man. Verdance doesn't really have good matchup. Sorry if you've already talked about it, but what is the issues with Verdance? It's not that she's bad. So let's play it out, right? Aurora's gonna burn you down before you get to your combo, your little mini combo, whatever you're trying to do. She's gonna outrace you, right? Ira is going to just run Poison the Well, keep an arsenal, and play that whole game, or even run Gravekeeping. Gravekeeping literally fits the curve of Kadachi, whatever. Um, if you're trying to do CYB still with Verdance. Enigma is not a great matchup for Verdance either. Zen can put too much pressure on Verdance. The Reaping Blade makes this matchup, I want to say, unwinnable. You just stack Rune Chance all the way up with Reaping Blade on the field, and you never attack her, and you just win the game. And then New is kind of sus, right? Because a lot of your life gains built into your blue base, and she can banish them. So she's not a terrible deck. Just the matchups are not where she wants them. Simple as that. Acilio, Dio, Azalea, Prism will top 8. Maybe just one of them. I could see Acilio. Well, just Portland, you're gonna have all the SoCal people go, which means if I'm not mistaken, Alexander Vor is somewhere around like Nevada or California or something like that. And I'm assuming because he played him at Worlds that he would play him there, and that'd be a really good guess to guess that he would make top 8. Fair. I do not think there'll be an Azalea in top 8. There's no shot. There's no shot. I don't see it. Prism, I could see. Dio, it's going to have to be a hell of a Dio. Dio with Hanabi Blaster, kind of good, not going to lie. Probably is. Dio's still around. She's the only mech representation. Everyone else went down even further in playability. Yep. I was going to ask what Dorinthia how to do here, but I was just waiting for Josh's. Yeah. So I don't know. Josh just put out his deck tech for his worlds list. And yeah, I think he is on to something. And honestly, Dory's probably a lot better. Dory's probably like somewhere in here, give or take. Maybe could even break it into bottom of B. The problem is his strat kind of got hit by the ban. KO and C tier break my heart. Yeah. I said it a little earlier. I think this is the worst KO has ever been. Because the decks that want to race him, he's not fast enough. And then the other decks are have that Hatchet Dory kind of situation where they're efficiently blocking and KO's bricking and stuff like that. So do I expect Chaos Arachnid to be good? I have no clue. I have no clue. Can't even begin to speculate. If anything, losing CYB index hurts Dorinthia. Right. Chances that Dash IE gets any points. I mean, the only viable version of Dash right now is literally you could go Hanabi or Tree Frog. Like Pistol Dash in the normal mid range dash is just gone. You're either Tree Frog or you're like full Hanabi aggro. But Thank you for joining me. You have a good night as well. And I think that this is a great opportunity to kind of call it. So I'm going to interact with chat for if you have any questions, post them in now. I'll give you another 5 minutes or so to ask or anything you want to discuss, and then we'll start to close things out. I'm getting a little tired. Bolton's got to be a little better though. No? Really good blocking, then 30 damage turn out of nowhere. The problem with Bolton is you have plow under, you have uh just a lot of arsenal disruption. Like the combo is good, don't get me wrong, but there's so much disruption in the format that I don't think you're ever going to get the space to do the combo. That's the problem. Why do you think Jarl isn't great into Iris? Seems okay in a sense that you can outvalue with decomposed cards, Oaken Fuse, and Sledge Tunic. Um, I mean, my main thought process is just Kadachi's. I could be wrong. I could admit that. But I think there's a real world where they could kind of like, fat deck in a sense. And I think they're just gonna get there via chip damage. Kind of is my idea. I'm willing to be wrong on that though. But that's just my initial thoughts. I have not played the matchup. That is just observing from afar. What hero would you take to an LL event right now? Oh my god. Let's talk about LL real quick. So the Chicago event, uh teammate Taylor's been really gung ho about testing for it and stuff like that. So I've been interacting with the testing team and getting ready for that event or helping others to get ready for that event if I decide to not go. And there were some really quick realizations that happened that I'm not a huge fan of, if I'm being honest. Kano getting hit saved the day. Kano was by far the best deck to bring to any event. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I don't even think you have to be like a top tier Kano to bring him to LL. You just don't. With 9 pour the pages or whatever the card's called, like I don't think you need it. And are there some matchups where you have to maybe stack and it's difficult? Sure, but like most of it is just like standard aggro Kano. It's not the worst. The games are degenerate, and they're not degenerate by the hero selection. They're degenerate by the in-game variance. I'll tell you a quick story. I was playing a Briar deck. Okay. I was playing against I was playing against Taylor, and I went second. I did 35 damage on my first turn going second, and I lost that game. And it wasn't against Kano. So there are really highs and really big lows inside the game. Hero selection is still important, but there are just some things where, like, if this happens, like, that's just it. That is just it. But as far as what hero would I bring, my answer would currently probably be either Oldham, Starvo, Viserai, or Zen. Those are my 4 picks. I know it's blasphemy because I did not say Briar. It hurts me more than it hurts you, I promise. But the fact of the matter is, I'm gonna say something that is absolutely wild. The last edit that I made to my LL Briar list was taking channel mount heroic out of it, literally. So if that doesn't tell you anything, then I don't know what to say. Starvo with unrestricted starstruck. Yeah, I mean, it's not just that, it's the somersaults, and it's just a good value deck. Simple as that. But all right. No, it's cooked. Why play something mid when you're playing a format where everyone wants to overperform? Yeah. I mean, if you think about the fundamental math behind Channel Mount Heroic, you'll very quickly realize that it's not a living legend card. Uh Simply because, you know, my question to you would be, is a 2 card 9 acceptable rate in living legend? And I don't think it is. I do not think it is. You want to be getting more than that. And that's what playing 3 attacks on a Channel Mount Heroic is. It's a 2 card 9. And so you're not even doing what you want to do unless you get 4 attacks off with every Channel Mount Heroic. That just doesn't always happen. And even if you build the deck the correct way, it just can be rough. Do you think they will have to release a middle format between full LL and ah god, that sounds. It's my opinion that I thought LL was a little early, if I'm being honest. I think LL is a great idea. I think it was a little early. Exactly. Stubbies is better than CMH. 110%. Do you think Verdance can be good but not in the current meta? Yes. I think Verdance has potential. If a certain Verdance is in that Reinar situation where if you ever need him to answer something, he's there. Um But to answer your question, Nick, I think LL was a little early. So if I was to release LL, I would probably do it like at the beginning of next year. I think they did it about a year early, in my opinion. Not saying that that's a huge thing. That's just my opinion. But I think they just did it a little early. A little early. Is Lexi a bad choice? It's just not enough. I don't think. Thoughts on the fact that there's another BNR scheduled in only 1 month? I That does seem a little sus. It could be they want to clip something right before the new set that is not impactful, and they don't want to give breadcrumbs to the new set. But here's, do you see going to LL next year? Most of the ones at the top, I think Dash will limp over. It's going to take a little something, but I think some Tree Frog list might get there or something. And then Phi going to get there real quick. Visrai will get there real quick. I think by the end of next year, there will only be one Mystic hero left in the hero selection. That's my hot take. I think New and Enigma will be LL. What do you think of the Spirit of Christmas being CC legal? Seems like a Victor staple at the very least. It could be, 100%. Uh, I If it is CC legal, they need an easy way to obtain it. Uh, if the only way to get it is to go to that armory, it's a bad idea. Now, if they print it in another product, it's perfectly fine. But that card needs to be accessible if it's going to be played in a lot of decks. It's probably bonkers and riptide. I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see. All right. I just want to thank each and every one of you for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Um, this was a doozy. At the beginning, I wanted to approach BNR the correct way, give my opinions on why I think that CYB is a amazing design, but the fact that it's generic just fucks the whole thing up. I hope I communicated that point very clearly, and I hope that I approached it with logic and reasoning and not any bias. I'm not perfect. Maybe maybe it could have been done a little bit better. I don't know. But once again, I appreciate all of the chat pushing back and saying, well, why is it? Why do you think that way? Or why not this? I appreciate those conversations because I learn stuff. There was one, I think it was you, Diego, where you basically said, oh, well, what about the opposite? And to be honest, that whole giving people the opportunity to test drive something, like I'd never thought about it that way. I still agree with my previous stance, but it's interesting, and I learned a lot from, you know, I'd never considered that. I didn't even really consider that as a data point, and that's important. It's very important to do so. So I really do appreciate all the perspective that all of you bring, and I appreciate the time you spend with me. It means it means a lot. It means a lot. I appreciate everybody being here, and I will see all of you